Hey everybody, this is the Rogue Overland Adventure Chat podcast. I'm Nick Savacci and this is episode 4.
And I'm Mike Schaefer, and today we're going to talk about what you should bring on an overland adventure.
All right, Mike, so here we are, episode 4.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about something that can have a much different approach depending on the person that you are and what your idea of being out adventuring is.
Yeah.
And that's what to bring on an overland adventure.
Yeah, I know we've talked a little bit before the show about, kind of some of those first things you want to bring and some of the kind of key gear that we found over the years.
Yeah.
That we really like. And we definitely come from a unique perspective on this too, I feel like, because we're traveling in small SUVs with families of 5.
Big families, yeah.
So that's gonna I think we'll bring an interesting mix into this than someone that, maybe by themselves with a full size Dodge pickup or something too.
Well, I think it's funny. You and I talked one time, and you mechanic for the Rebel Rally, and you had talked about. It's crazy when I go out to do that. I have all this room in my vehicle because it's just me.
Oh yeah, it's crazy, because I put a sleeping platform in the back of the truck, which I never get to do with the family.
Right.
And it's like, and I'm like, okay, I've got one box and maybe a sleeping bag, and it's like, man, I've got all this room, dead space in here. I'm like, this is nice to travel like this,
Yeah.
Even when Andrea and I without the kids, when it's just the two of us, it's like, man, we got room for days. We can bring a real pillow.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think, kind of everybody listening, take it from that perspective. Most of the time we're running in cramped quarters.
Yeah.
I think the best thing to start with is basics.
Basics.
What do you think? What are kind of some basics for you?
Yeah, so I think, we kind of, I'll start here. I know in the last episode, we talked about, bringing that first rig and just basically starting with what you got. Go buy that rig and hit some dirt roads.
Yeah.
And I think bringing gear along kind of follows that same philosophy. I know when we first started traveling, car camping and stuff is basically what we were doing back then. I mean, my first stove was a white gas Coleman stove that my dad had got for his 16th birthday way back in the day.
Wow.
And that's what we started with, that Coleman stove.
Yeah.
And we still got that. It's still floating around somewhere, But we started with that and a white gas lantern. And that's kind of what we started with. All of our cooking utensils and stuff were just basically throwaway cooking pans and stuff like that. But, a sleeping bag, a Walmart tent, that's kind of how we started. And we did that for years.
Yeah, darn right. And that was something that I know you and I wanted to get across, is that you don't have to have, you see so many people online and they have all this amazing gear, whether they bought it or it was given to them or whatever, but you don't have to really have much, because most of what you need, you probably already have in your house anyway.
Oh yeah.
You can just grab it and
grab stuff right out of your kitchen and go. Yeah. It's overlanders kind of get a reputation because it's like, hey, we're going to bring everything in the kitchen sink, and, maybe that reputation's a little bit deserved because, but you don't, I think the big takeaway here is you don't need all that stuff.
Yeah.
Is that stuff nice? Heck yeah, man. It's nice to have.
Of course.
A power cube and a running water and all this stuff, but you could do a lot with a jerry can hanging off the tailgate of your pickup truck.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you can always run your truck for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
To recharge the batteries. You don't have to have a solar kit.
Absolutely.
So let's start with that basic stuff and I mean, for me, cooking kit, like you said.
Yeah, that's
basic cooking
you gotta
kit.
eat.
Yeah. So I think it's and we're going to give Danny Gruters a little shout out on this one, and you can look up DeGroot X. He does some Xterra. He has a race Xterra, which is super cool.
He's probably the only Xterra race truck in the world because nobody else is running.
No one's running them. And Deep guy from the Nissan community. So shout out to him. Check him out.
Yeah.
But he once said to me, man, I just take a backpacker's mentality. Yeah. And I didn't realize I was doing that, but with kids, you're kind of forced to.
You kind of have to.
What's the smallest and the tightest and the lightest that you can do to maximize your space? And so I will say that you could start, when we talk about cooking, you could start as simple as a jet boil, you have your spoon, and then you have dehydrated meals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then so I think there, if you want to take a backpacker's mentality, now Now, how about if you want a little bit more? What you're saying? You run a Coleman stove?
Yeah, we used to, we'll run the Coleman stove, and then I think now we're running a jet boil fold out.
Oh, that's right.
Camp stove, which we love, and a lot of the reason we love it is because it packs up so tight. So it kind of goes back to that same mentality.
Yep.
But look at your meal prep stuff too, because that's a big thing too. I know a lot of guys. Our buddy Steve will freeze a pizza in his cooler. Well, he's in a fridge now, so it's a little bougie. But that's his lunch every day, and he just takes out a piece of pizza. You can go super simple on the food too. So I agree with you. I think the best place to start is you start with that jet boil.
Yep.
Something small like that, and then you can move up to a 2-burner stove and some skillets and. Another thing for us, for as far as food prep goes, is food prep at home.
Yeah.
I know you guys also do that too, and it saves a lot of room, saves a lot of time at camp.
Yep.
But food prep stuff, vacuum seal it, throw it in a cooler or whatever. And that's kind of our first step.
Yeah, we love quick lunches.
Yeah.
For sure. So yeah, jet boil. Then you've got your spoon. You can start to build up into some cooking utensils, right?
Yeah.
If you like, some people like the process of cooking at camp.
Oh,
So then you're looking
and
at
I love camping with those guys because they like to cook for everybody.
For everybody, yeah. So, boy, one of the Rogue expeditions, you remember, gosh, I'm blanking on his name, had the Frontier, and now he has a Subaru. Will, he brought a Traeger.
Yeah.
Remember, he bought a
gosh,
plug-in
it was
Traeger.
like a 12-volt plug-in smoker.
Yeah, so we're going to call that the non-backpacking style. But so basically you can build your cooking stuff out. I mean, you can get a Tembo Tuscatl. We've had one of those for a long time.
Amazing.
And they're great for cooking for large groups. It could be your only cooking utensil as well.
A lot of guys will use just that exclusively.
Yeah. So you've got that, and then you're basically building out from there. But I think you have your jet boil, you have your silverware, your cutlery.
Yeah.
You're going to have the burner stove, depending on how many burners that you want, or a scuttle. And then your cutting board if you're going to be doing a lot of meal prep on the trail. And then you need to have some ability to wash all of that stuff. So whatever you're going to do, bin-wise or
And I think
bucket-wise.
the last thing that's kind of talk about in that food category is food storage. So my opinion is you can really go cheap on the coolers. You can really go expensive on the fridge.
Yeah.
I think we started out with the Coleman cooler and ice. Did that for a lot of years. The Coleman 5-day cooler was a great first step for us. There's a lot of great rotomolded coolers out there now.
Yeah.
In fact, we've got one we kind of keep around for stuff that we got at Costco for $100.
Nice.
The one place that I think, and maybe you've got the opinion on this too, I don't know, that I probably would not compromise on anymore is the fridge.
Absolutely.
And I think after, having a couple water-soaked steaks and a couple nasty water-soaked sandwiches, I will never go back to a cooler again. Yeah. Call me bougie, but but there is a flip side to that too. When we're talking space, you got to remember, if you've got a cooler that's, X big, you can run a fridge that's half that size because you're not worrying about keeping ice in there for a 2, 3, 4 day trip.
100%.
100%. So it actually is a space conservative thing on top of that. Yeah. But I'm telling you, once you go a fridge, personally, I told Andrea, I said, if our fridge, because we're just running a cheap fridge, like we literally got it off of truckfridge.com or something.
Okay.
And we've had that thing for 5 or 6 years, and I think we paid like $300 for it. But I told her, I said, if this thing died tomorrow, I would be ordering another one the day after because I'll never go back to a cooler again.
Yeah, 100%. Don't think that you have to have a fridge to go out, but when you've decided that you're into it and you're going to do it enough, and we were looking back, I mean, gosh, you and I think it's, we'll spend 75, 100 days in a year out doing stuff.
A lot of times,
So the thing is that that's definitely an investment that's worth it.
It is. And I'm not saying don't use the cooler, but just know one day you're going to be like, I'm going to try a fridge out, and you're not going to want to go back to that cooler again.
And then I would say dry food storage. I'll throw a simple thing out there. The Plano bins. I think Plano is the brand.
Yeah,
it's just those plastic tubs, from Walmart or whatever. Those work great. And then we've also used the Front Runner
That's what we're using
bags.
now. Yeah, I like the Front Runner bags. And actually, the only reason I do like those Front Runner bags is because they're square. and they stack easy, and they don't take up a bunch of dead space that a lot of tubs do. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Totally agree. I think that's kind of, to me, is kind of the things you start with, you know, when you're cooking.
Yeah, and you can basically just get fancier.
Yeah,
You know,
it really depends on how fancy you want to get, you know?
Yeah, and then cleaning wise, I would say, you know, you basically can go as simple as just the collapsible bins to wash things. We recently had an opportunity to use the geyser system, which is awesome. the sponge that secretes the water continuously. That worked really well. You know, I'm blanking on Jacool, I think is one of the other companies I've seen where they have it's more of a bin and a wash bucket and heated water setup. So you really can do a lot of different things with that. And again, it just comes to how much space do you have and how close to that backpacker mentality do you want to be?
Yeah.
Before we get into the next thing that you need to think about when planning your overland adventure, we want to take a second to thank a few sponsors who have come on board for the 2024 Rogue Overland Expedition. If you've never been on one of these expeditions or never heard about it, you definitely need to check out our YouTube channel. There's a whole adventure series playlist which documents all the previous years of this event. It is an event that is filled with camaraderie and experiences of local cultures, as well as challenges with your vehicles. The first sponsor we want to thank is White Knuckle Off-Road Products. White Knuckle Off-Road Products offers heavy-duty rock sliders for 4x4 enthusiasts. We've been using these rock sliders on our personal vehicles for more than 10 years, and we have beat them down on trails like the Rubicon and John Bull in Big Bear, California. And all we can say is these things hold up to a beating. You can check out White Knuckle Off-Road Products at white-knuckleoffroad.com. The second sponsor we'd like to thank is Xgrid Campers. Xgrid specializes in off-road campers and represents all the top manufacturers from around the globe. Whether you're looking for a square drop that can rock crawl, or whether you're looking for a family hauler with independent suspension, the experts at Xgrid Campers can help you find the right setup for you. We actually had an opportunity to take out a few of their campers and test them out. I'll put a link to that video up above here, and you can get an idea of what they have to offer. You can find Xgrid Campers at xgridcampers.com.
Yeah, I think your next step is your sleeping situation. I think that's kind of where you go from there. Like to me, when I go camping, the two most important things is I want to sleep and I want to eat.
Sleep and eat. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so that can be a deep one.
Oh yeah, because we've had this conversation many times because I think you and I are a little spastic because we've been all over the place.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll you want me to jump in on this one?
Go for it.
I'll jump in on this one. Okay. So when we first, as you know, if you've been listening to this show, rock crawling pedigree. So we started with rock crawling. The very first time we ever did a quote unquote overland trip was the Mojave Road way back. And I don't even know, 2012 maybe.
Yeah.
And anyway, it doesn't matter when it was. The point is that all we had was Walmart gear.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have
That's all we used
anything.
for years.
Yeah. So I would say, depending on how old you are and how weary your bones are.
That makes a huge difference.
I mean, everything from just any type of sleeping pad to a good quality sleeping bag.
Yeah.
You could start right there. I mean, on that trip, we had a military guy out with us, and he did. He rolled his pad out and he slept right under the stars. And so I think you spend your money on a quality bag because being cold in the middle of the night is not fun.
Oh, it's the worst.
But I think that's pretty much, I mean, boom, that would be your backpacker mentality. You can start right there.
Yeah, I had a buddy that when he went camping, he literally took an old army tarp, laid it on the ground, laid a sleeping bag on it, flipped the tarp over top, and that's how he slept.
There you go.
You know, and that was super simple.
Yeah.
The sleeping bag to me is super important. Staying warm is super important.
Yep.
I'm 40 years old now. I want to sleep a little bit comfortable.
Yep.
We've gone through a bunch of different air mat. I mean, I've got a collection of junk at home that we've tried and tents and this and that. The one thing we're kind of hot on right now is the X-Peds. Like I love it. To me, it's quick inflate. It's a little bit of money. It is an investment.
It is.
But I'm 40 years old, and I'm a side sleeper.
I gotta get some sleep.
Yeah, and man, and I'll tell you what, like camping for me is relaxing. Like I sleep really good, but I don't want to sleep on the ground anymore. Like straight, I don't mind sleeping on the ground with something in between me and the ground. You know, I don't.
Right.
But I can't do the concrete floor, you know, anymore. Like, but to me, kind of next level from that sleeping bag is having something comfortable to sleep on.
Yeah, I agree, and those are great. Great air mattresses because they're kind of a combo of the air with the foam in the middle, right?
Yeah, they call them self-inflating, so you just kind of leave it open, walk away from it, and they'll kind of draw the air in, and then you can fine tune it with air pressure. But yeah,
I think solid investment there. I think if you want to take it up to the next level where we're talking about having some type of padding, I think that's where you can look into something like. I mean, you can look into like a Habitat, an Adventure Trailer's Habitat, which has a mattress built in, or you can look into a rooftop tent, which is going to have a mattress.
And I think we've ran just about all of those between us. So that's kind of like your next level is like, what do you want to sleep in?
Right. Yep.
And that may depend on your loadout too, because I know, you know, we've kind of transitioned. We did the rooftop for a while, and I've still got mine, and we still use it, but we've kind of transitioned backwards into a tent again.
Yep.
Just because of getting weight off the roof and stuff for some of the trails we've been running.
Yeah. Well, and I know you guys are working those smaller tents, and you're running the same thing as I am. It's kind of weird. Kids grow and get bigger.
I know, and take up more room.
Yeah. So they're taking up more room, and so now all of a sudden you have to kind of rethink because it's like, I don't have the space. So I know you guys are using... Oh, stuff falling, don't mind us. I know you guys are using a smaller tent, kind of fold-up tent. We've been using the shift pod a lot because it's just... nice and easy, doesn't take too much space on the roof rack, so I can put more sleeping gear up there.
And that was kind of where because we ran the rooftop with an annex for a long time. We'd sleep up top, the kids would sleep down underneath, but you know, both of those things take up a lot of room. So now we're kind of, the kids are old enough, they kind of want their own space. So we're running 2 tents now. And you know, between the 2 tents, they kind of fold up like a sunshade. They don't take up a lot of room. They don't weigh anything. They're super quick deploy, you know, and it's like, oh, these are working for us now.
Right.
So.
Okay. Yep. I like that. And then, so you basically, we start with sleeping bag on the ground, sleeping bag with some kind of mats. You can have a sort of cot system. I've seen those. Then we have things that have sleeping pads in them, rooftop
built-in
tents, things
stuff,
like
which
that.
is nice.
And then you can tell me if you think that I'm missing a step here. I'm sure a hammock lands somewhere in there.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some. There's definitely some other stuff in there that people do. I know Sean did the hammock for a long time. He loved it.
And then the last one, if you want to be really comfortable, and you've recently jumped into this category. With the camper, some type of camper on the back of a pickup truck.
Yeah, and I think we're, you know, depending on the camper you're running, you may even be getting out of this, you know, overland segment altogether and crossing over into the RV side. But yeah, I mean, like we just recently bought a Palomino slide-in truck camper, and it's a pop-up, so it's still low profile. We can still kind of get it out in the woods and stuff. Yeah, and it's light, so it doesn't, you know, like a lot of them truck campers get huge, you know, but we can still tow with the truck. We're not over the weight limit of the vehicle and stuff like that. But like the 4-wheel campers and stuff, they make a phenomenal product that a lot of guys are dragging through the woods and dragging through the trails and everything else. And that's probably your top tier overland setup, you know.
Because that's full on.
A little bit bigger than the Habitat.
Is that a queen size mattress up there?
Ours has a queen in it, but I mean they get showers in them, and you know, ours is pretty basic, but you can get them with showers and toilets and like the whole 9 yards. So that's kind of your upper end overland. I think you get beyond that. Now we're talking toy haulers and you know, and KOA, you know, campsite kind of stuff. And
But, all right. Yep. So we got that.
Yep.
I want to just throw out a simple one, and that is you got to bring some type of chair because you're going to have time around the campfire.
Yep.
Right.
So, oh yeah. I know we're running. Actually, a lot of the kids and stuff are running. I think you guys are running them. I forget the brand, but they're Amazon
Yeah, the little
folding
collapsible-
chairs. Yeah, I love them
yeah.
because they don't take up. The whole thing's about that big. It
Right.
looks like a little pillow or
Big
something.
as a Stanley water bottle.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't take up a lot of room.
Mm-hmm.
They deploy and tear down pretty easy.
Yeah.
Is there more comfortable chairs out there? Probably, but they're getting in a lot heavier and taking up more room and stuff.
That's the big thing for me, taking up more room, and I think
room's a big thing. I can get 5 camp chairs in a little box. It doesn't take up a lot of space.
Right. So I think that's that backpacker mentality. If
Yeah.
you need the space, they make some great, and I think those came out of like the backpacking community. But
They had to.
the small fold-up chairs.
Yeah.
And then you can go up to the nicer and nicer versions of.
The full blown.
full
A lot
on.
of guys are running the ARBs. Got their kind of, I don't know what you call them, but they're like movie set chairs, and and they're super comfortable. They just take up more room. It really just kind of depends on how much room do you have.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Okay.
yeah, chairs are important.
So have a chair. Yeah. What do you think else?
Oh, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think just to go to camp. I mean, even today, that's kind of the basic things we deal with is eating, sleeping.
Yeah.
We always bring a little bit of entertainment stuff for the kids. So a deck of cards don't take up a lot of room, stupid stuff like that.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, once we get to camp, most of our time is spent just sitting around the fire and, it's usually been a long day on the road and on the trail. And
I'm gonna throw one. I've got one on a thought here, and you tell me what you think about this one. I'm gonna throw it out because when we talk about overlanding, it's still part of the adventure of getting there, not necessarily just when you're hunkered down at camp. So how about your clothing, your outerwear?
Oh yeah.
I mean, to me, and it's funny. Sometimes we'll go places and it'll start raining, and my kids will say, "Well, I didn't bring my rain jacket," and I've got my rain jacket on, and I'm like, "Well, I've been telling you guys since you couldn't even, since you were starting to pack your own gear, no matter what the temperature is going to, no, it doesn't. No matter what the temperature is going to be, bring a puffer, bring some layers, bring a rain jacket."
We spend a lot of time in the desert, and our joke has always been, plan. It's either going to be hot and windy or cold and windy. So just plan for all of that,
right,
and that pretty much covers it.
Yeah. So I think that's something that you need to consider is your own personal gear.
Oh,
and everybody's different on what I know for me, like I get cold really easy, so I'm always going to have several base layers. Layering is huge for me, and I'm usually running around getting footage if it's one of our trips. So layering is huge. So I'm going to have several thermal layers, and then a pair of shorts, pair of pants, my boots. Flip-flops for at camp or Crocs. Yep. They have to be tactical Crocs.
Tactical Crocs, so make sure they got 4-wheel drive.
Yeah, 4-wheel drive. And then, basically you just have like your puffer and then whatever you're going to do for some type of rain, poncho, whatever you're going to do for the rain.
You don't want to be out on the trail. You don't want to be at camp and be miserable.
Totally.
And I've seen a lot of guys, and the same thing with the kids. They've showed up unprepared because... but I see a lot of people show up and they're freezing because they're like, well, it was 95 today when I loaded the truck. I didn't think I need a jacket tonight. Or you've gone up 5,000 feet of elevation, and but we always, clothing or at least layers is kind of one of those things we always kind of tend to overpack on, because I tell the kids, I'd rather have it and not ever need it than need it and not have it.
Yep.
You can always put more layers on if you get cold or something, but if you run out of stuff, you're out of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a good one, and then I think I'm kind of running through my head here. I think the last one, just to touch on, would be whatever you're going to be using for navigation. If you're going to be traveling to wherever you're traveling to, and I know you're a big fan of the was it the Benchmade Atlas?
Benchmark maps. Love them things.
But having some type of map backup to whatever software that you're using.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, 100%, and follow both of them. Yeah, and I know we're running GPSs. We're running several different versions. And,
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah, and then I think just maintenance. Make sure your vehicle's ready to go.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I think that's it. You got anything?
I think so, man. I mean, I think that's there's the problem with this is you there's so many subcultures you could get into. We could start talking about power cues. We could start talking about water filtration and really you've really got to look at what you're gonna do. If you're going out for a weekend, you know, like 3 or 4 days and, you know, you're traveling across, you know, Moab or, you know, running some overland trails out there, you don't need
No.
all this stuff. You don't need 2,000 pounds worth of stuff. You're overloading your vehicle. You know, you can't see out the dang thing and all that. So it's really the important thing to do is make sure you're loading out and preparing for what you're actually doing.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to put it. Yeah, if you're listening to this on YouTube, throw a comment below. What else do you think you should bring?
Yeah, what's important?
What's important to you? Because, like you said, there's a lot of subcultures. I know personal protection is very important in our group, and so there's a lot of things that you can do there, and maybe that's a whole nother episode. But you know, you have to decide. Some people that's a big deal to them. Some people it's not. So, but I think we've covered the fundamental things that you need if you want to go out on an overland trip.
Like we said at the beginning, start small and figure out what works. You know, figure out what you need, what you don't need.
Yeah,
because I think you'll find out you probably need a lot less than you think you need.
Way less.
And we learned that. Real quick before we close, I'm going to tell you a story.
Yeah, tell us a story.
Oh, man. When Andrea and I first got married, I found some pictures the other day, and we couldn't have been married long. It was the first camping trip we ever went on, and it was, you know, 3 or 4 trip up in the mountains in Utah. Yep. And literally we had an extended cab, 2001 Tacoma, heaping with stuff. And I look at the picture now and I'm looking at her like, what did we have? What did we need for 3 days in a campground? You know, I mean, we had tubs and boxes, and I was like, I can't even now look back and remember like, what in the world did we actually have in that stuff? So to look at that, you know, and it's funny, you know, most people build stuff up over the years, and we've just constantly cut down over the years. Like we've got less and less stuff now, you know, than we did. So it's just funny to look, you know, kind of what we figured out over the years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can use things like this podcast, right, to get ideas. But really, what it comes down to, you actually brought up a great point there. What it comes down to is start with the basics, get out, see what type of traveling you're doing, and then you'll refine it over time. Oh man, it's been 3 trips I haven't used whatever a single time. Maybe I'm just not going to use that. Yeah, you know,
if you haven't used it, you probably don't need it.
Don't need it.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, where can they find us?
You can find us on all the normal social media platforms. We're on YouTube, at Rogue Overland, Facebook, Instagram. Are we tweeting?
Gosh, there's Twitter, there is TikTok. I mean, all the social medias. Just search at Rogue Overland.
At Rogue Overland, you'll find us everywhere. So.
All right, we'll see you on the trail.
Copyright Rogue Overland 2024, all rights reserved.